This episode is brought to you by O2, the official recovery drink of the Noble CrossFit Games. For more information, you can use the QR code or you can click the link in the show notes below.
What's up, everybody? We got another great episode today. Joshy G is on the podcast. You probably know Joshy G from watching the CrossFit Games, especially if you've been there in person, because he's the MC on the floor, often teamed up with Kiki, and he's providing great commentary out there. It's keeping us as judges highly entertained. Josh also runs a great company and fitness program called Deadboys Fitness, which we're going to dive into. You can check them out. They typically follow the WWE wrestling schedule because his partner, Seth Rollins, that's his WWE name. Together, they travel the country, they teach great things, and you'll hear on this episode, people sign up with them virtually and then ultimately gain the confidence to get to a box. So if you have a friend or family member that isn't quite ready to head to the affiliate, send them over to Deadboys Fitness. They've got all sorts of scaling levels, including body weight only workouts. Definitely check it out. In addition to that, for you guys in your 40s, we talk a little bit about wrestling. We talk a little bit about toys and just 80s pop culture in general. Great episode. Joshy G is the man, and I'm super excited for you to listen to this next episode of Best Hour of Their Day.
Welcome to the Best Hour of Their Day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez
and me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the Best Hour of Your Day.
All right, we got Joshy G, also Josh Gallegos. What is that? French?
No, French. Hispanic, bro.
Hispanic.
Though by looking at me, I'm sure most of you wouldn't even guess Hispanic. So therefore, but no, it's Hispanic or Spanish, if you will.
Well, I think in the CrossFit world, you're pretty much your moniker is Joshy G, right?
That is correct. Yes. Joshy G in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Best hour of the day.
I appreciate that. If you're listening, you probably recognize the voice because you probably watch the games and Joshy G's on the floor. How many years you've been going?
9 years. If I get called to do this year, which my fingers are crossed, it'll be 10 whole years. It would have been 10 last year, but the pandemic and a no audience CrossFit Games kind of put the wrench into that equation. So 9 years as of last year. If I get called again this year, it'll be 10.
Do you get excited about it?
I do. I try not to get excited about it because, again, every year it's the same. People are like, are you going to be at the games? And I'm not one of those guys. It's like, yeah, totally. Like even when they do reach out and I fill out the paperwork and give them my available dates, it doesn't really hit me until I'm actually there. And so when I get there, whether it be Madison or, a number of years back, Carson being there on the floor, that's when I start to get really, really excited. So it's been a lot of fun for the past 9 years, being able to be a part of a community. It kind of happened, I kind of got thrown into the mix as well with Kiki those first couple of years. So we were able to kind of hone a craft and create some sort of this team MC camaraderie that now is the staple, but before it was just a one man or woman show. And now you'll see whether it be the Granite Games or Wadapalooza or now at the CrossFit Games, it's a 2-person team. And I'd like to think that Kiki and I started that 10 years ago or 11 years ago, I guess.
That is interesting. So do you only go on the floor with Kiki?
No. I'm just saying we were the ones. So long story short, I did some local events and I did one local event with Kiki. And in 2012, the regionals in California, when there were regionals, was in Pomona. And it was supposed to be me and Kiki. And the way we did it was like, I did a heat, she did a heat. I did a heat, she did a heat. And then for whatever reason, I don't remember exactly what happened, but we ended up doing one together. And Justin Berg and Dave Castro liked that. And they invited us to go do the NorCal regional, which was the following weekend. And from there, they invited us to do the games. And so the games that year, which was 2012, I forget the guy's name. I want to say Travis. Forgive me if I'm wrong.
The arm wrestler.
Yeah, the arm wrestler. So Travis did all the individual people. And he really did like I think like the big boy heats. And then there was a guy, I forget his name. I want to say it's Joseph. He did things all by himself. And then Larry was there, and Larry did heat all by himself. And then Kiki and I, as a team, we did all the team events. And they really liked that flow because it gets kind of awkward out there if you don't have somebody to play off of. And I think Kiki and I do that really, really well. And so from moving forward, they started to implement more people and a more team mentality. So you would get guys like Dylan or Brenton or Mike Richards and Larry, and they would just kind of mix it up. So it'd be like me and Brenton, or Kiki and Dylan, or Mike and Larry. Like there would be different variations of these teams. So there was always two people on the floor, and that kind of gave almost like a commentary, like color play-by-play, a color commentary and a play-by-play person on the floor at all times.
Yeah, and for the listeners, I think it's pretty standard. They think the games is, set up months, years in advance. We just got asked about judging, and so 6 weeks out, you're still waiting for your invite.
Well, yeah, and look, it may come, it may not, but there have been years where it's been like 2 weeks out and they've called me. You know what I mean? So I think they have bigger fish to fry than who's going to be on the floor emceeing. So it's always a pleasure and an honor if I'm invited, but at the same time too, like if I don't, that's cool. I got a lot of other cool stuff going on, and I'll never be like ungrateful for not being invited. But I'm very fortunate to be invited 9 times so far. So
I think you'll be there. Wait a sec. That's not matzo ball.
That is matzo ball down here. Yeah.
Oh wait. Okay. I see another one over there.
Oh no, that is Holly. Matzo ball's down here barking at somebody.
Yeah. I mean, matzo ball's who we really wanted on the podcast, but we settled for Josh G.
Yeah. Matzo ball gets all of the celebrity requests, and sometimes she can be there and sometimes she can't. But when she can't, that's when I'll take the interview instead.
Hop in there. So I want to talk about it briefly because we were talking about before you came on. I think we've met here and there at the games, and then I got married in Santa Monica, and you were super welcoming, and you had me in my groom's party at CrossFit Paradiso, and you're no longer there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And a lot of affiliates listen to this, and I just wanted to hear what it's like. We rarely get a GM or a head coach and someone that runs a lot of events on the show. So I would be interested in hearing some of the things a box can do really well and some of the things a box can do really poorly when it comes to having someone on full time.
Yeah. Before I started Paradiso, I was at Dogtown, and, I'm sure there are gym owners out there that can probably relate. They can't be everywhere at once, right? As much as they would like to be, they can't be everywhere. And so you get yourself a nice big core staff that is willing to do just about anything to make the gym community happy. And, I think it comes with the territory. Sorry, that was my timer from a workout earlier. When
you're just finishing?
No. I left the timer running. No, I just think that it's interesting to see, like, there are tons of gyms out there that you see the gym owners really kind of embrace the hard workers that work at the gym, and nothing against, like I said, Dogtown or Paradiso. They were all great. They were all part of my past. And, I just think that if you are a gym owner, if you really take care of your staff and you're able to communicate on both sides, this isn't just a GM or an owner problem. This is also could be a coach problem. If you're able to communicate on both sides, you should not be able to let that person go and vice versa. You know what I mean? But when you're having a clash or a lot of butting of the heads, that's when early on you should decide, okay, I'm going to let this person go and do their own thing, or vice versa. If you're a coach and you're like, man, I'm just not getting what I want out of this, you should be able to walk away and be happy. And I think that's, you'll see a lot of people that work at a gym, they'll go and start their own gym or their own place out of spite because they weren't really getting what they want. But if they would have communicated what they wanted in the first place, then maybe those problems would have been avoided, So I think that the big rule, I don't really work for a gym anymore because I think I learned that rule ahead of time, or it took me obviously a while, but being able to communicate to the best of your ability. Communication obviously is key, especially if you're a coach, but also if you're an employee too. If you're not able to express what you want and get what you want out of the owner and vice versa, if the owner has a specific vision, you as an employee shouldn't be shitting all over that vision. You know what I mean? If you're like, man, this programming sucks, or man, I can't believe this guy's doing it. You're saying out loud in front of members that you're obviously unhappy employee. So you should be able to move on. You shouldn't be dragging your owner's name in the mud and vice versa. The owner shouldn't be dragging your name in the mud. And not that that happened per se, but it's just an example of me being around the community and seeing this happen, not just at the gyms that I've worked at, but gyms that, I'm friends with the owners and stuff like that. And there are gyms that avoid that altogether. There's some really, really, really great gyms out there. I mean, CrossFit South Brooklyn is one of them,
Gotta give David a shout out.
Yeah, love
Good
David.
Friend, yeah.
CrossFit or NOLA CrossFit, Cityside CrossFit in Houston. All these gyms do that very, very, very well, where they take care of their coaches, they take care of their employees, and vice versa. The employees and the owners would literally take a bullet for their owners. So it's nice when it works and you see it work and you're like, oh man, that's awesome, And as a coach, if you're not getting what you want out of the place, either move on or find a place where you're going to be happy. Because if you're going to be miserable, that's no fun for you, obviously. That's no fun for the gym owner,
Something you said, though, that I think is really true that owners need to hear is letting the staff know their vision. A lot of times they just bring people on and then they don't create that understanding of what they're actually moving towards. And you have different people with different ideas of where the community should go, where the box should go. And ultimately the owner needs to steer it. And if they're not doing a good job there, they're going to have some contention amongst the staff.
Yeah. I think clear communication versus the owner thinking like, oh, he knows what I want or she knows what I want. I'm going to just, pretend like he can read my mind or she could read my mind and vice versa. If a coach isn't happy, you shouldn't be there. Danny Soul from Soul CrossFit in Miami, he's another one, he is very blunt to a fault almost, and, there's no gray area. There's no, I wonder if Danny would allow me to do this, or I wonder if I can get away with this. There is no getting away with anything. Danny will tell you exactly what he wants. And that's a great thing because there's no gray area, so to speak,
Two people you just brought up, David Osorio, Danny Soul. You walk into either South Brooklyn or CrossFit Soul, you feel them. It's them. It's like you walk into their basement, right? Danny's box is all American traditional and all that kind of stuff. David's box is the same in South Brooklyn. And I think that's probably a big part of it, right? You create that culture. It trickles down from Danny. It trickles down from David. The other box owners almost step away and they're not as involved and not creating that vibe there. And if you create that vibe, it's hard to break. Like you said, Danny.
I think they step away and then they look and they're like, well, this isn't what I wanted. And then they'll come back in and be like, no, this is not what I wanted. And then the coach or the general manager or the manager, to no fault of their own, is like, well, I was just doing what I thought would be beneficial. And they're like, no, do it this way. And they're like, oh, well, why didn't you just tell me that in the first place? Then we would have done it that way. You know what I mean? I think that the reason why CrossFit, functional fitness, even boutique gyms are so popular, especially now after COVID and the pandemic, is that we want that interaction. We want that community. And that is not changed. I mean, going back to even pre-CrossFit, the surfing communities and gym communities, we all want to be a part of something. And if you feel like you're a part of something, you walk into a building, like you said, walking into Seoul or Brooklyn, you feel immediately like you're a part of that community. You know what I mean? If you don't get that when you first walk into a gym, it's going to be very hard for someone to feel like I'm being accepted into this gym. You know what I mean? So I think that right out of the gate is creating this sense of welcoming and community when you walk into something is your first step. And then going into your vision or what you want out of that community. I mean, traveling on the road with the wrestlers and traveling on the road with CrossFitters and the CrossFit Games and dropping into different boxes, you see, and you can attest to which gyms have it and which gyms need a lot of work,
Absolutely. And I'm sure part of why you're able to step away and not be involved at a box anymore is you've got Deadboys Fitness.
Yeah.
And that's blowing up. I see a lot of people following. I've got a nutrition client, Ben Lopez. I don't know how well you know. He's actually a wrestler in Puerto Rico. He's in training.
Yeah, I know he is.
Yeah. He loves you guys. But you've got this programming going out there with Seth, right? You're partners with Seth Rollins in this?
Yep.
Where did you guys start this from? What was the need for it, and where did it begin?
Well, it was kind of that mentality I was talking about, right? Like, when not that I was unhappy per se, but you get a bunch of people like, hey man, why don't you start your own gym? Hey man, why don't you do your own thing? Hey, that'd be sick, right? But as gym owners can attest, it's a lot of work. And I'm not trying to be a jerk and saying like, I don't want to do the hard work. I definitely want to do the hard work, but I also like going to WrestleMania. I also like going to the CrossFit Games. I also like hanging out with my friends. And we were like, well, how can we create a community, but not necessarily have like a home base, not like a home gym, And that's why we kind of came up with the idea of Deadboys Fitness. And this was obviously, I think, a little bit before, the online community was its craze. Like I think we kind of came up with this idea before Street Parking, not that Street Parking copied us by any means, but I think the idea was in the works. We just never pulled the trigger. And then we were like, let's just do it. Let's just see what happens. And, it kind of grew, and, it's been a lot of fun. We do these events called Day with the Deadboys. And, it's obviously we are kind of in this niche category of pro wrestling fans and fitness fans. We obviously want to reach out to more people, which we have, from musicians to actors to everyday, folks, moms, dads, that sort of thing. But our core base is obviously that pro wrestling fan base, which if you are around, a lot of them have never worked out in their entire life. And the fact that they are motivated by Seth and sometimes for whatever reason me, to join and be a part of it, that's great. And that's what I've always been, I was just talking to a client the other day. Those are the things that make me really, really happy. It's the fact that like, oh man, like, yeah, training Seth is cool and training Becky is awesome, but being able to help everyday people lose weight or, achieve some sort of PR, whether it's, in their bench press or their power clean or whatever the case may be, is extremely rewarding, and that's to me why I do what I do.
Oh, by the way, I mean, Becky had a baby. What is that baby, a year old?
Yeah, a little over a year.
I mean, she is back and better than ever. You attribute that to Deadboys. Deadboys Fitness right there.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, also too, Becky is very determined and, she came back better than ever, won the title, held on to it for quite a while before losing it to Bianca, who is a former CrossFit athlete, in case you didn't know.
You know what? I think that goes unrecognized. I don't think maybe I'm a little too down the rabbit hole in wrestling, but I didn't realize that about her until I stumbled upon it. But she was a competitive CrossFitter.
Yeah, she was at regionals when there were regionals. She was a regional athlete. I think she was discovered at Wadapalooza. I could be wrong. I know a couple of the scouts came to the CrossFit Games and Wadapalooza, and they were looking for talent. I know that there's another wrestler. I forget what her gimmick name is, but she's on NXT. She's also a CrossFit athlete. I think her and her fiance own a CrossFit gym somewhere in Orlando or Tampa or somewhere near there. But yeah, going back to Deadboys, it's been a lot of fun, and watching it grow and being able to offer different programs. I mean, I'm such a perfectionist. I obviously want, triple or quadruple the amount of members that we have. But the fact that we have a ton of members, for the programming that we give them, and the fact that people are doing them, not just looking for videos of Seth and Claudio and Becky and Sheamus and all these other guys, like they're actually doing the workouts and, messaging me and telling me the results. It's been a lot of fun.
All those guys, Claudio being Cesaro in WWE, right? They all follow the programming as well?
Yeah. We're in like a big programming group where we basically talk shit to one another. And
who's the fittest?
Colby or Seth by far. Strongest is debatable. I would say probably Cesaro or Claudio. And then depending on the workout, every now and then I'll win one, which then, will really piss both of them off. So
back in the day, this is probably 10 years ago, and I had my box in Albany, New York, and they all came in, and Cesaro couldn't do double unders. I was trying to get him to do double unders, but he was on the struggle bus back then.
Oh, now he's a double under machine. Now you should see him. He's a double under machine.
So, there's a lot of programming out there. What's unique about Deadboys?
The unique thing about Deadboys is that we offer a lot of things. We offer straight bodyweight workouts, which we were made available before the pandemic. And then obviously when the pandemic hit, it was super beneficial to people because, for a good solid 3 or 4 months, it was tough to get people into gyms. So the fact that we were able to offer that helped out a lot. We offer a kind of a bodybuilding-esque style hypertrophy workouts. We offer obviously functional fitness / CrossFit style workouts. And then we offer like the full programming, which includes Olympic lifting and barbell work. And that is the stuff that Seth uses. So we offer a wide variety. We offer obviously some endurance options, that type of stuff. So yeah, I know there are a ton of programs that offer the same type of thing. The only difference between ours and let's just say theirs is that it's really geared, and there's a ton of scaled options for literally the beginner of all beginners, right? If you've never touched a barbell, you've never even touched a weight, there are tons of scaling options, and there's ways to communicate us if you have any type of question. So it's literally it was just based when we first started, it was just based around Seth's programming. And then I just kept getting messages like, what's a burpee? How do I do a lunge? And so I was like, man, I really have to not necessarily dumb this down, but make this extremely basic for the type of person that does not know how to do these things. Because again, a lot of people are very intimidated stepping foot in a gym, whether it's a CrossFit gym, a Globo gym, whatever the case may be. I mean, these people, for the most part, are working out in their living room because that's where they feel the most comfortable. And so, I know a lot of people back in the day gave CrossFit a ton of shit for the couch videos, right? Or the milk jug videos. But those, in my opinion, were great because those were the things that I'm like, this is what these people need. They don't have weights, right? So get a backpack, throw in some books,
We've got a Romanian deadlift option. We've got some squats coming, potentially some thrusters with the backpack.
That is your kettlebell, or that is your barbell. Same thing with the jugs, or getting up out of a chair, or getting up out of off a couch, getting up off of a floor. Like those are the type of videos that seem silly for your average everyday CrossFitter, but in reality, like that was perfect for the type of people that we were dealing with because they've never ever worked out in their life. So when they're able to see something very similar to that, being like, oh yeah, I could see why a burpee would be important. Getting off of the floor if you fell would be important, especially if you're elderly, especially if you're overweight. Getting up out of a chair, without losing my breath, or going up a set of stairs without losing my breath would be extremely important, especially if I'm overweight, right? I don't want to go to these wrestling shows wearing a triple extra large shirt. Maybe an extra large shirt would be the way to go, or a large, So again, I truly enjoyed those videos because again, that was the type of audience that we were after. Not necessarily the elderly people, even though that we do have some elderly members, but the fact that we kept it super basic for people was one of the things right away we learned, like, oh, this is the way to go. I'm not trying to create a Ben Smith or a Matt Fraser, or a Sam Briggs. That would be cool if I did, but it's the everyday average folks is the ones that I wanted.
Well, and good news, there's far more of those out there than Matt Fraser's, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And tell me more about a day with the Deadboys. I see you guys typically follow like the WWE. So if WrestleMania is in Texas, maybe there's one associated with that. Or
yeah, so we try to follow the 4 big pay-per-views. So Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series.
Which is your favorite? What's your favorite pay-per-view?
To watch Royal Rumble,
it's gotta be, right?
It's that's so unpredictable.
Right. Yeah.
The biggest one is obviously WrestleMania. And now that it's 2 nights, it's even bigger. And next year it'll be in LA, which will make me very happy. But yeah, I think
is The Rock gonna show up?
I wish I could tell you. I have no idea. I would hope so. I think that would be a fun main event, Rock versus Roman.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we usually piggyback them off of a big event. So you come to the WrestleMania one and you get to work out depending on the schedule. You get to work out with Seth. You get to work out with me. We put you through a workout. And at the end of that, you get to ask questions and get a photo. So most of the time, these photo ops are extremely expensive, especially if you're going to like a WWE or a WrestleCon. And the fact that you get to earn your photo op, so to speak, for a small chunk of change is really quite fun. And like I said, we've had people that think that they can get away with just showing up and waiting for Seth to walk through the door and be like, hey, can I get an autograph? He'd be like, no, sign up, come do a workout, and then I'll give you an autograph, or then I'll give you a photo. And sometimes at the end, they'll be like, that was the greatest decision I've ever made. You know, I wasn't going to sign up and I did. And I had such a fun time.
And what goes on there? You're training all day. How, is it just
So it's about an
smash
hour.
these guys?
No, I definitely don't want to smash them. I definitely don't want to make them throw up. We put them through like, you know, it's almost like a class, right? So we put them through a warm up. We put them through basically like a move assessment because I don't know these people. You know, some of them are members, some of them aren't. I want to see how they move. I discuss the workout. We put them through a workout. At the end of the workout, we do a cool down, and then we talk about Deadboys Fitness, nutrition most of the time, and then we'll have a little Q&A, then some photos. We'll give them some cool swag, and then they're on their way.
I've never been to a WrestleMania. I've been watching since, I think the first one I watched live was Macho Man and Hogan at 5.
Okay,
So,
that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like back in the. How old are you?
I'm 41.
I'm just turned 44. So I don't know if you remember, like you'd rent the VHS tapes back in the day.
Well, that's how I got into it.
Same.
The elementary school I was at, everyone loved the wrestling, and I was more of a comic book guy. So I was like, all right, well, if I want to know what these kids are talking about. So I remember going to the video store and renting SummerSlam 91. And that was the first video.
Warrior ravaging Rick Rude year?
No, that was the match made in heaven, which was Macho Man getting married. And then it was the match made in hell. It was Hogan and Warrior versus the Iraqi sympathizer, Sergeant Slaughter,
yeah,
Colonel Mustafa, and the Iron Sheik, whatever his name was. And because he didn't have that name. But it was the match. It was Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental title. That I was like,
oh, great.
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And so after that, I ordered my first pay-per-view, which was in November, which was Survivor Series. And it was Undertaker versus Hogan. And the Undertaker won, and that was my guy. And I was like, yes. I was never a big Hogan fan. Even though like growing up into pop culture, I just never really liked Hogan. I was always a big Macho Man guy.
Same.
And
I'll show you something.
Hey guys, Fern here, best hour. Real quick, if you want to build a fantastic affiliate like Cal Harbor, if you want to have the affiliate of your dreams, you have to learn how to build a really great team. What's one of the biggest improvements that you've seen over the past year?
At the box, dedication of my coaches, invested, caring to make themselves just better at what they do. I see the coaches just invested in themselves.
It's hard. You got to put systems in place. It's one of affiliate owners' biggest struggles. If that's something you're struggling with, reach out. We can help you guys. This can and should be fun. CrossFit's amazing. You can make it amazing for you and your team.
You don't have this guy on your shelf back there, do you?
Oh, I don't, but I have so many others. Like this is nothing. I don't know if this podcast or whatever is a video podcast or not.
They'll be on YouTube.
Okay, well, I mean, this is just a small sliver of what else I have. So, I mean, I have title belts. I have every incarnation of a Macho Man figure. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing, but yeah, that's kind of what got me into it. And then from there, you know, I every month just ordered every pay-per-view, begging my mom and my dad to purchase every pay-per-view for me.
And so now for $5, isn't it crazy? Like all these years later, for $5, you get them all.
Yeah,
$5 a month.
It's fantastic. Not only you get them all, but you can go back and watch everything. So yeah. I wanted to reminisce about the first WrestleMania I went to, which was in Las Vegas, WrestleMania 9. And I just sat and watched it. And I was like, this is great. Like it's at the tip of my fingers, where before, even though I do miss that experience of going to the video store and picking out the video. And if it wasn't there, I like had to pick something else out. Like that in itself, I miss, but the convenience is second to none. Having it at your fingertips is great.
Going back to the Deadboys Fitness, you said you talk a little bit of nutrition with these guys. For these new people coming in, or wrestling fans trying to get fit for the first time, what's the biggest mistake they're making or misconception that they have about nutrition?
I think, and I wouldn't say this is wrestling fans. I think this is people in general. Like they feel like they have to go off the deep end with nutrition. In reality, it's the small changes, right? Hey, how much soda do you drink a day? Oh shit, maybe you shouldn't drink that much soda. Maybe try water. Oh, how many steps are you getting in a day? Oh fuck, you're only getting in 1,800 steps a day? Maybe kick that up a notch, Like it's the small things that people don't realize. Like for people like you and me, and I live in California. So, it's pretty fitness oriented everywhere you go, right? Eating healthy, and you have all these different options. But for people that live in the Midwest, like they don't have a Whole Foods, they don't have a Rainbow Acres, they don't have all these health things around. So like telling somebody, hey, maybe you should eat some vegetables, it's like you're blowing their mind up, you know? So it's just small changes. I don't expect people to change their, lifestyle, do a complete 180, when I first meet them, but it's the small changes that they don't realize they could be doing, because that's where you're going to see as long as they're being consistent, right? You try to change people, make them do a 180 and give them so many different tasks, they're going to be overwhelmed and they're not going to be able to keep it. They're not going to sustain a healthy lifestyle. But if you tell them to make small changes, like, hey, maybe don't put so much Caesar salad dressing on your Caesar salad. And, it's that type of stuff where people are like, oh yeah, okay. And then they start to see like, oh man, I'm literally doing the bare minimum and I'm seeing results. What would happen if I kicked it up a notch? So those are the type of things when we talk about nutrition with them is, again, these guys are used to eating fast food every day, right? Or soda pop or, whatever the case may be, candy, it's just shit. I mean, that's the type of stuff where you're like, hey, maybe don't do that.
Are you a lifelong California resident?
No. I grew up in Las Vegas. I was born in Wyoming. I grew up in Las Vegas, but I've been in LA for 20 plus years. So I guess I have to say I'm an Angelino now, but I grew up in Las Vegas.
What keeps you in California? I feel like everyone's trying to exit.
Make it, I will. It's the weather, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful, right?
It's gorgeous right now. It's like 70 degrees. It's nice and cool. I mean, I live close to the beach. But also, too, this is the Mecca, in my opinion, for the fitness industry. You know what I mean? California, like whether CrossFit or functional fitness stays around, which it has, but if it ever happens to go away, fitness in California is always going to be here. There's always going to be people that want to get in shape. There's always people that are going to want to go outside and either lift weights or do some sort of activity. And, I think that, if you want to be in the fitness industry, California is probably the place you want to be. California or Miami, where it's nice and you got to look good while you're outside,
So tell me a little bit more about the toys. We obviously, you got Skeletor tattooed on your arm.
I do. There he is.
And so are you a big He-Man fan?
He-Man fan. Well, I would just say 80s pop culture. 80s pop culture for sure.
What's classified in that 80s pop culture? He-Man, cartoons, Star Wars, a little bit, wrestling?
I think it's all, right? So, growing up, He-Man was my number one cartoon of choice. Then it would go Transformers, G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtles. I mean, who wasn't a Ninja Turtles fan as far as, boys? I'm sure girls were as well. Star Wars. I mean, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I appreciate them. Like I said before, was a huge and still am Marvel comics guy, Batman guy. So, I mean, I think now toy companies are really, really smart because they're targeting guys like me who are reissuing updated versions of things. And they're like, oh, and then guys like me are like, oh, I had that when I was a kid. Now I have adult money. I want to buy all of them. So, packages will show up and my girlfriend will be like, what is this? What's going on? I'm like, oh, no. That's a pre-order that I got, So it's, those are the type of things I think I'm just super nostalgic for a lot of things. And one of them being my childhood. And so, being able to go and collect these things that got lost by the wayside somehow is very satisfying for me.
It's true. I went down during the pandemic. I'm sure you've heard of the Major podcast.
Oh yeah. Broski's my buddy.
Oh, are you? Well,
yeah.
You can let him know he's responsible. Yeah. For this expensive purchase, as well as a few others back there. But I went down, I was like watching, for the listeners, there's a wrestler named Matt Cardona and his partner, Brian Myers, right? And they have a YouTube channel and they're always talking about toys. And I got down that rabbit hole and I'm like on eBay trying to bid for a Macho Man, Hasbro LJN figure. And it was just nostalgic. This came in the mail. I'm like, wow, it's been like 40 years since I've held this in my hand. It's cool. Now, every time we've got a 16-month-old, we go to Target or something, pretend like I'm toy shopping for her. Meanwhile, I'm searching through the wrestlers, looking through Star Wars figures and figuring out, what I can get away with purchasing.
Oh, I'm guilty of that too. Going to Target has become now just, I don't even hide it anymore. I'll be like, hey, Jen, let's go to Target because I'm looking for this figure. Or, hey, Jen, can we go to Target? It says on the app that this figure is, there. And I've thrown full blown adult temper tantrums because something will be like street dated, which if you don't know what that means, it means that it's out, but you can't purchase it until the street date hits. And so I've blown up. I've seen people buy like 6 or 7 figures of one thing. I'm a one figure and done guy. I won't buy more than one because I like to leave it not only for other collectors, but for the actual children that want to actually play with it, as opposed to me putting it on my shelf. So, a 41-year-old adult man that collects toys is a funny thing to say, but it's also something that I like to do. I think it really kind of kicked up a notch during the pandemic. I think that was one thing we were just kind of sitting around and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to look and see if I start collecting this again. But hopefully there will be more of an end game. I'm trying to create more rules, which I've had Matt Cardona. I do this thing with Sideshow and we were talking about it. He has like a specific set of rules that he follows. I kind of don't. And I feel like I need to start creating these rules where I'm only going to collect Masters of the Universe Origins. I'm not going to collect Masters of the Universe Masters. I'm not going to collect, I'm only going to collect my clients' wrestling figures. I'm not going to collect anybody else. You know what I mean? So I got to start implementing some rules so I don't have a storage unit and 6 closets full of shit.
You say that, and I don't obviously know him. It seems like his rules are always kind of expanding a little bit. He's always
I think he's I think his rules are pretty good. He definitely has more rules than I do. He just has more money than I do. So maybe I can't act on the impulse of buying a $10,000 figure. I'll just buy a $20 remake.
He bought that one. I think he put like a $12,000 bid out.
Yeah,
I want to say it was like the Dink. Was it the Dink or the Doink? I forget which one he bought.
I mean, there were so many. There was a Greg the Hammer Valentine that he bought.
Oh, yeah, he's got that one.
He bought a Lex Luger one that was crazy. I mean, they call him the Michael Jordan of collecting wrestling figures for a reason, and he's got quite the collection.
I think I got down that rabbit hole because he's an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
He's killing it on the independent scene, and it's awesome to see him do so well. And it's exciting just because it shows like if you put in the work, you can make anything happen. And he's a great example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that goes with kind of, whether it be owning a gym, you put in the work, you want that gym to be successful. If you put in that work, it'll happen, right? If you're relying on other people and you guys don't have the same vision, it's not going to come as fast or if at all, same thing with online programming, and whether it be Deadboys or Street Park, you obviously see the work that Miranda and Julian put in street parking, and being able to put together a team that makes that programming extremely successful. That's why they are the juggernaut that they are. Becky and Colby, they're another prime examples. They could easily take days, if not weeks off when they're not working to just relax, but they got to hit the gym. They got to do the programming. They got to travel all over, and they're now their mom and dad. So they're a mom and dad. So they got to take care of the little ones. So again, if you're putting in the work, as much as I, don't want to steal anybody's, motto, but hard work does pay off. And, those are all prime examples of hard work paying off.
Absolutely. What do you guys have in the works next?
Well, we haven't really announced it yet, just because we don't know Seth's schedule. But the next Day with the Deadboys will probably be SummerSlam, which will be in Nashville this year. And then there's another one in November for Survivor Series in Boston. So hopefully we'll be able to get some dates out to the people soon. Obviously, if CrossFit comes calling and wants me to MC the games, that would be another sick thing to do. But right now it's just hanging out in California, training my clients. And when Becky and Colby are in town, or if I'm anywhere near where they are, we'll train and work out together. But yeah, and then just keeping Deadboys afloat.
One last thing, I had mentioned it to you. You didn't say anything about it, but when Seth Colby wrestled Cody Rhodes with that torn pec, did he say how much pain he was in?
How much pain Seth was in, or how much pain
Cody was in?
I mean, I didn't really ask him, but I would just imagine. I mean,
was crazy.
worked out with a bad back, not that it was a torn pec, but like ever since then, I'm like, man, I can't complain about shit ever again. If that guy's wrestling with a torn pec, his whole side is bruised and purple. And here I am being like, oh, my calf hurts. Like, but I would just assume, I did not ask him. No, to answer your question, I did not ask him, but I would just assume that, he went out there and put on quite a show. And, the fact that they were able to put on such a great wrestling match, a 5-star wrestling match, with the
3 in a row, really.
I believe it. I'm a little upset that there's a guy out there that ranks wrestling matches, and Seth and Cody have only had 1 5-star. Like that is not doing them justice. They definitely deserve more than just one match, or at least not because he's my friend, but just because he's a great wrestler. Like Seth has so many fantastic matches out there. The fact that he only has 1 5-star match because some guy behind a computer says so, like there's definitely way more than that.
You've heard it, Dave Meltzer.
I mean, sure. If he wants to listen to the best hour of
the best hour of the day podcast.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that that it's silly to say that he's only had 1 great 5-star match. That's silly.
And anyone that thinks wrestling is fake needs to go watch that match, because I had friends who were like, "Oh, is that makeup?" I'm like, "Did you see his arm? It was like a balloon."
Well, you don't even have to be a wrestling fan. I mean, it's a great match that incorporates amazing storytelling, right? I mean, obviously the torn pec added to it, but the fact of the matter is like when you're watching that, whether you're a fan or not, you're like, I've never seen a wrestling match ever where the crowd is hyped. Cody Rhodes takes his robe off. You see the torn pec, and then everyone just is silent, especially in a loud city like Chicago, Illinois. Everyone was silent, and it was just crazy. And those two had that crowd eating out of the palm of their hand, and not just the crowd itself. Like even in my house, like my girlfriend watching it with her eyes closed and like peeking, and me at the edge of my seat. It was a really fun match to watch.
Yeah, I was worried. I was like, he's not going to be able to move his arm. That's what I was waiting for.
Well, that was the thing. I was like, how are they going to pull this off? And they did such a great job. Like, so if you're interested in watching a wrestling match, I'm sure at some point it'll be on YouTube for free. Or if you have Peacock, watch it on the network. But it's a great match to watch. Yeah.
Well, where can people sign up for Deadboys Fitness?
They can sign up for Deadboys at deadboysfitness.com. Hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll have an app which will make things a little bit easier to sign up.
App for you guys only, like not on a typical programming platform?
Yeah. Just our own app. So that'll be fun, which will make life a lot easier, both for our members as well as for me. But yeah, you can sign up there. And then if you are interested in coming and joining us for a Day with the Deadboys event, just be on the lookout, whether it's social media, at Deadboys Fitness on Instagram, at WWE Rollins, at Joshy G27. There'll be tons of announcements regarding the next Day with the Deadboys event, which will be in Nashville,
Tennessee. Hop into SummerSlam after that.
Yeah. Or, if you're in the Nashville area, obviously it's so close to all the greats, Rich Froning, doesn't Tia Claire Toomey work out there, Brooke Wells. So will they be there? I can't guarantee it, but you know what? Seth freaking Rollins will be there, and we'll put you through a fun workout, whether you are a functional fitness aficionado or someone who's never worked out in a gym. They are a lot of fun, and we make sure to put people through a fun workout. We're not looking to make people throw up. We're not looking to hurt or maim people, but we are looking for people, especially people that have never worked out in their entire life, to get motivated to, go down that road of living a healthier lifestyle. When people do cancel, and I've said this on numerous podcasts before, but when people do cancel, 9 times out of 10, it's because they're joining a gym, whether it's a CrossFit gym or some sort of global gym, or they're hiring a personal trainer, which, is bittersweet for me. It sucks because I'm like, I lost a member, but at the same time too, it's like, oh, that's cool. They're trying to go down a better path, and they want to hold themselves accountable and learn a little bit more besides doing the couch workouts or doing your typical dumbbell workout. So it's always fun to see someone graduate to becoming a better version of themselves, you know, and I'll get like update emails from them or update DMs from people like, hey, you know, I was a member, I quit, I joined a gym, and now look at me. You know, I just did my first CrossFit local competition, or I just did my first powerlifting meet, or I just did my first bodybuilding competition. And it's always a lot of fun to see that, because, you know, the progress from somebody just starting and emailing me like, what's a burpee, or what's a lunge, or how do I, you know, I can't squat to, you know, below parallel, what's a good substitution, to now seeing them competing in a CrossFit competition, a local CrossFit competition, is a lot of fun.
Well, then you should be proud of that. You're getting people off the couch and fitter, and that is the kind of the next evolution of it, right?
Yeah,
now they're
exactly.
joining another community, so you're doing good things out there. Hopefully, I'll see you on the games. I'll be judging out there. I always watch you and Kiki and all the rest of, like you mentioned earlier on, Larry and Dylan and Mike and all those guys. While I'm out there judging, you guys keep us entertained.
Yeah, that's the fun part, you know, especially the games are always a fun way to entertain people. You know, I know what we're doing out there, which some people think is extremely easy. It's not. I'll tell you that much.
Not at all.
But we also want to entertain, right? You're basically watching people work out. You know, I always tell people, like, just imagine if you had to commentate a pull-up competition. It wouldn't be very fun for you, and it wouldn't be very fun for people watching, because you're like, what is happening? So we try our best to make it fun and entertaining, because they're not piping in the Sean Woodlands and, you know, all the normal commentators. Like, we have to come up with stuff, especially on the fly. And I will say, everybody asks me, like, what is your favorite event to host or to commentate? And I always go back and tell them, which is an event that I feel like people are like, what, really? Which is the half marathon and the marathon row, because it was so long. It was almost a challenge. I'm like, what are you going to talk about for, you know, an hour plus, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long it was. And I think as a team, did a fantastic job. I think all four of us or all five of us were able to talk, and we were able to bounce off of one another and come up with some interesting things to say on the fly, as well as having a stat sheet. So, you know, as much as that was painful for people to watch in an arena or in a coliseum, it was fun for me, because I looked at it as a challenge. It was like, oh, well, I now have to speak to all these people in the arena for a little over an hour. What am I going to come up with? How many wrestling analogies will I was going to
say, you do throw out, I heard a couple of head of the tables last year.
Yeah, I try to make it fun, you know, for people that get the jokes. And then obviously too, like, you know, the people that win, you know, Justin Medeiros, he was at the head of the table. You got to try to knock him down, you know? I mean, there's so many different ways you can look at it, but, you know, the fact of the matter is that you are seeing people, whether it's professional wrestlers or in this case, functional fitness athletes, doing really amazing feats of strength or really incredible physical fitness, you know, accomplishments in a weekend. It's very hard to not get excited. And it's very hard to not kind of compare them to things that you've seen before, and being able to do that and to get hyped about it and to get people hyped about it, especially in an arena environment, is a lot of fun.
Have you ever said anything out there and either one of the athletes was not thrilled, or Castro came back at you and was like, don't say that ever again?
No, it's usually like you mess up somebody's name, right? Or, you know, like you'll mispronounce it. I don't think I've ever said anything where I got heat for it, so to speak. Usually I try to say things that will make people laugh or smile or have a good time. I think the one and only time I was extremely embarrassed is I forget what I could have been last year, maybe it was the year before. I said Saxon Panchik's name as Scott Panchik, because Scott Panchik was in the heat before, and then Saxon was in
That's an easy mistake right there.
And so it was like, and blah, 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 Scott Panchik. Saxon Panchik. So like, it was a quick fix, but again, like I was saying, I was such a perfectionist. Like, it just bummed me out for the whole heat. And, you know, just having Kiki or Dylan or Larry or whoever being like, it's all right. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. Like, it happens. So, yeah, we're not all perfect, everybody. But yeah, when I made a mistake on that, I was just like, this is it. It's over for me. My career's done.
Who's the hardest name to say?
I don't think anybody's name to say. If you're leaving
worldwide,
if you're leaving it up to me and I don't know how to pronounce it, I would, you know, the sky's the limit, you know, especially with like, you know, Adrian Mudweiler, if he didn't know how to say it, you know, Bjorgen Carl Goodmanson, if you didn't know how to say it. But once you hear somebody say it, it's easy to say, you know. But if you're reading it off of the paper for the first time, you're like, oh shit, how do you say this? Luckily we have such an incredible staff at the CrossFit Games. They give you endless amounts of research. And if you don't know how to say something, somebody will tell you how to say it. So there's never really an excuse to not know how to say somebody's name, or to not know how to pronounce something, or not know what the events are. So, as long as you come prepared, it shouldn't be tricky. The only time it ever got tricky was, when we had to talk about them being on a Concept 2 rower for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours plus,
Yeah,
there's only so much you could talk about,
Yeah, well, it's just as entertaining to judge sitting there watching. The best part was just watching the male athletes pee on the rowers.
Yeah. How do you do that? Which, by the way, just hold it in. Just hold it in.
Just hold it in, right? Yeah.
Come on, Khalifa, just hold it in. You're all right. You're gonna be okay. Come on, Zach Forrest. You can hang for another 2 hours.
Yeah, you've done harder things.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Joshy G. Like I said, hopefully we will see you in Madison this year, and check him out at SummerSlam. Assuming you're gonna do a day of the Dead Boys in Nashville, Tennessee. And
yeah. Come on by. If not, follow us on the Instagram. See what we're up to. We're a lot of fun. We don't try not to take things too seriously, but it's been fun being around the CrossFit community for 10 plus years, and hopefully another 10 plus years more. But yeah, man, it's been great. I got to meet cool people like you, which I actually had a question for you. I know this is the best hour of the day, but I want to know, is there going to be at some point a match between you and MDV for Post-its versus iPad? Which one is it going to be? Who came up with the idea of the kind of like the inspirational fun quotes on either the Post-it or the iPad? Because I try to give MDV shit for it. And I don't want to make him the bad guy if he wasn't the one that started it.
Full disclosure, I don't think either of us started that.
There's going to be a third person.
I'm sure if you go scroll back on the internet, someone's way smarter, or at least more creative than either of us.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you use an iPad, because the amount of Post-its that MDV Jabroni must waste, I swear, I yell at him all the time. And then the amount of shirtless photos that guy takes, it's really,
he looks good, though.
Really obnoxious.
He looks good.
Look, I'm not saying he doesn't look good. It's really obnoxious, and we get it, MDV, you do jujitsu, and
he got his blue belt. He just got his blue belt.
I know he got it. I'm just giving him crap because I like to be the heel to MDV's.
He needs it. He is a baby face over there.
He is a great guy, and all jokes aside, MDV is a stellar dude, and me and him have conversations all the time. And that's what's so great about this community is being able to, even not being in it as much as I used to, being able to go back and really talk to the people that were there in the beginning, IAU, Sean Woodland, MDV, Jason Khalifa, all these guys, they're still your friend. They still know who you are. They'll talk to you. They'll give you the shirt off of their back if they need to. So, it's always fun to have those friendships and to have them last as long, because there's not a lot of friendships that last 10 plus years. And, for whatever reason in the CrossFit space, especially with those guys and they have lasted as long as they have. So that's really, really cool.
It's really true. I mean, I've got some of my longest friends now are, 15, 16 years, and it's from CrossFit. David Osorio, you mentioned earlier, I met him in 2008. I hosted a competition. This guy walks in with Vans and jorts, and it was David Osorio. And I'm like, and we've been friends ever since. And
he's still probably wearing Vans and jorts. But yeah, David is one, Danny, who I mentioned earlier.
Danny's I mean, I lived in Florida for a bit, so I saw Danny quite often, and such a great dude.
But that Zach Forrest, he's just a real jerk. He's a real jerk.
Yeah, no one likes Zach. I mean, I know Zach's on seminar staff. We work together quite a bit. They're all, everyone's a good dude. And CrossFit has a low bullshit tolerance, is what we like to say.
Yeah.
So you're not going to last very long.
The list of good people can go on and on, from Zach to Austin to Dave Eubanks, Connor Murphy. I mean, the list can go on and on. Like I said, you can go back to these people, 6-7 years, maybe not even after talking to them, they'll still know who you are. They'll still be like, oh yeah, I was at your level 1 or your level 2. They're just amazing humans. And that's the one thing that I could take away from, the being involved in the sport of CrossFit, as well as the being able to coach and teach CrossFit to a wider range of people, is that, these relationships have stayed with me, 10 plus years.
But for the record, MDV needs to go green.
Yeah. I mean, look, I want to see
trees. He hates the environment and he hates trees.
Yeah. So MDV, like, do you need me to get you a stylist? Do you need me to get you, an iPad?
A pretty cheap iPad.
Can we just start a GoFundMe? Can we go GoFundMe for MDV's iPad?
Well, we'll get that going. We'll get it going. But once again, thank you so much for coming on. Check out Deadboys. Hopefully we'll see Josh in Madison, and looking forward to all the cool things you guys got coming.
Well, thank you, Jason. And yeah, guys, thanks for having me on, and I'll hopefully talk to most of you soon.
What is up, everybody? I hope you enjoyed that episode with Joshy G. Just want to throw out there, if you don't already follow him on Instagram, he has announced, since we recorded that episode, that he has been invited back for his 10th year of emceeing at the CrossFit Games. So we will see him in Madison in just a couple weeks. I told him they're going to reach out. I knew it. Let me be honest. I put in a good word for him. I was like, look, your boy Joshy G really wants this. Hook him up. He does a great job every year. He throws in those wrestling references. Let's get him out there. And they did. So you're welcome, Josh. But we hope everybody enjoyed this bonus episode. Maybe there was a little too much wrestling talk, a little too much toy talk, but it's all good. You can always use that in your life. Big news coming up on Friday. We've got dropping in at CrossFit Mayhem. And I'm going to tell you right now, our producer, Bare Minimum Nate, said it's his favorite episode ever. So you're not going to want to miss out. It's an extended episode. It's like 30 minutes. We're in the real deal TV business at this point. So you're going to want to check it out. If you've never been to CrossFit Mayhem, this is going to be your insight into what goes on behind the scenes, all the classes they run, their coffee shop, their nursery area. They got so much going on in Mayhem. Their apparel, they have someone dedicated to just apparel at CrossFit Mayhem. It's an amazing business that Rich Froning has created. It's awesome in my opinion. I love seeing what CrossFit has done for so many other businesses. Say what you will about the founder, Coach Greg Glassman, someone I still admire. Say what you will, but man, from day one, he always said, I'm in charge of this CrossFit thing and you go make your money doing what you want and I don't want a piece of it. And CrossFit Mayhem has really benefited from that, as well as some other, obviously amazing businesses. Look at what Rogue done. Look at what Best Hour of Their Day has done. So you're going to want to click on that notification button and make sure you're one of the first. Because look, Kanan's always first. I don't know if you follow our YouTube, but my boy Kanan, he's always first on there. Try to beat him. I want somebody to try to beat Kanan this week. That's my challenge to you. Who could be the first to comment on there? If you don't already, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's growing and we appreciate it. We're going to do some cool things coming up. I'm going to have some weekly live episodes upcoming. And for you coaches out there, for those of you level 1, level 2, level 3, look, not many level 4s. Let's be honest with each other. We've got some great content coming out in the future that you're not going to want to miss out. It's going to make you a better coach. So head over to our YouTube channel and please subscribe. And also leave a comment on the video. If you liked the video, tell us you liked it. If you think it sucked, tell us what sucked. We only get better. Look, our company is founded on the notion that feedback is how we develop. Fern and I give each other feedback on the regular. Katie gives us feedback. Marcus, everyone's giving each other feedback. And that's how we grow. So please drop us some feedback on every episode that we put out there, from today's episode with Joshy G to dropping in at Mayhem. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay tuned for dropping in at CrossFit Mayhem this Friday. Peace.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.